Hello, this is another Film It update, and I'm at the mill. It's gorgeous outside and it's very quiet in here. A bit shy coming out and doing these films when everybody's away home. But yeah, so here I am in the mill. Our lovely looms, reminders of the sweet spot of manufacturing when things were made slower, always made with natural fibres, built to last, like the looms themselves, built to last, 100 years old, right over there. So I'm in the mill, and this little weekly update, I'm going to come into the sewing room and find a seat. This little weekly update is just to check in and tell you about my second trip. I'm very low. I'm on a little Janie's seat. We toot of everything, like the sewing machine's literally at my shoulders. But yeah, a little update on my second trip to Scottish Government last week. As I say, Fashion Revolution, we're doing an event. So that was two textile events, 2 weeks in the trot. And this was their one, Refashioning Scotland's Textiles Industry, an evening to explore policy and legislative opportunities for Scotland. And I think one of the big takeaways from that was definitely that they are really keen, and there was a minister of the Scottish Parliament present at the time, like there was at the last ones, but it's always about the actions. What is happening next? So they were present, so they have been visually captured evidence to prove they were there, and then now what they're going to do about it. But the biggest takeaway was actually there's so many things that need to be dealt with in textiles, and this is not just about a skirt. And we make skirts for sure, but it's the bigger picture of textiles. It is in everything, and it should be circular, and it should be properly managed. And the fact in this day and age, 2023, when we know so much about the pollution to the planet, the climate impact it's having, the fact that it's mostly oil, Russian oil at that, quite often, but it's the health implications that are really scaring me lately. The more and more you look into actually us wearing oil as humans is actually really, really not good. And I think, I'm obviously doing desktop research a little bit, seeing what other people have done, but we have this project that we want to get going ASAP on terms of actually how can we get scientists involved and look at the biology and look at the chemistry and actually really understand what the true impact of that is, and how does that relate to maybe 1 in 2 people having cancer? I would be surprised if there's no link at all. So textiles, massive issue, is not just what we're wearing. That's not a skirt. I keep banging on about NHS sheets. I wish I just had more time in the day to actually, maybe I'm becoming just like a whole full-blown activist, but there's just so many things that are just so obvious and just not being addressed, which is just, yeah, it's frightening. Anyway, back to the point, Claire. This Fashion Revolution event was fantastic, and really what they were tabling to the people in the room was actually, we need a minister for textiles, and 100%. And one thing that really struck me though was also that we need a minister for textiles, but we don't need 3 people involved. This is a classic thing that I feel like we're seeing in Scottish Government, is that we have several ministers in the cabinet, but they all share similar responsibilities. There's always one of them that's responsible for a particular area. All that means to me is that they just deflect, they put you around the houses, you ask questions, oh, this is that person, that's that person, and there should be one person responsible. The buck stops with them. They have to be accountable. They have to answer the questions. They need to drive the policies. They need to lead the team. But one person at cabinet level who is minister for one thing. So while we were at it, I thought we may as well just rewrite the whole job descriptions for every minister in every area of responsibility and actually have one person dealing with one thing. They are not, sadly, I don't think, capable of dealing with more than one thing, and yeah, they use it as a deflection method without a doubt. So Minister of Textiles would be fantastic. It's just a huge issue. I mean, there's so many great films out there that covers all the areas that we need to address, but all of the solutions are really simple, I think. It's just like, actually, should we be wearing oil? Should there be a health warning for humans? Yes. Is extracting oil from the planet to make clothes that we're ultimately putting in the third world countries as waste colonization? Yes, we shouldn't be doing that anymore. Are we buying more clothes than we need? Are we 8 billion people on the planet and we're manufacturing at least 100 billion every year, and that's going to set to increase to 150 billion or something in a few years? We're making far too much clothes, all made from oil. We know all of it is bad. We know there's slavery involved in it. We know that people are getting into debt, even buying lots of cheap clothes. The whole price scenario, I think, is another thing, which I'll probably cover in the next few minutes. But Minister for Textiles. So I think it's a brilliant idea. One is the people should write the job description, and two, we need to get it to happen ASAP, and three, definitely let's rewrite everybody else's job description while we're at it. And actually, could the people do the interviews? Could we appoint the person who's going to be the Minister of Textiles? Could they have some experience that's relevant to the job? Yes. That doesn't mean they have to have worked in textiles, but they actually understand all of the problems. They have commercial experience for sure. They have experience in the different facets of society, so they know what the impact is. So I would say we would want to interview them, and we would want to appoint them, not a mate getting a job from another mate. So Fashion Revolution, really, really, really good. As I say, 2 events, both textiles in Scottish Government. You're like, this is brilliant. I just hope something happens. But so I think I might go to government again this week, even though there's nothing on. Might do something else. So watch this space. I think I will go every Thursday at Scottish Government. I'm going to be there talking about textiles to somebody, even if it's myself, even if it's to you. But yeah, no, it was really, really interesting. If Scotland could get a Minister for Textiles, I'm 100% behind it, and I think everybody else in the room was. But now it's always just trying to make sure momentum's maintained and we actually make it happen. But so this little one is about sharing probably what I would want. If there's a minister on my emailing list, watch these films. Gives you a tiny little flavour of the problems associated with textiles, but easy fixes. One of them is absolutely banning oil from in textiles. We should not be wearing oil, and these films will tell you why. So one of them is a couple of them are by Changing Markets, actually. Changing Markets Foundation. They are fantastic at what they do. There's one called Trashin, and it's basically filmed out in Kenya, and you will see the volumes and vast mountains of waste clothing. What frightens me is I know that probably 25% of textiles were wasted in making of those garments because nobody's doing zero waste pattern design like us, might I say. So there's huge waste being created in the outset, masses and masses of mountains. Even the people going through it now are actually, they're taking the shit and saying it's shitter. They're discarding, they're saying the quality's poor, everything, it's just gone from shit in, shit out to the shittest shit in to the shittest shit out. And you're seeing them like burning this really crap clothes to roast peanuts and the chemical toxic smoke that's coming from it. And it's just, so Changing Markets, watch that film, it's fantastic. The other Changing Market one is, I think I've shared it before, maybe through WhatsApp and things, is about Russian oil. So one is actually, there's all this waste situation the Western world are exporting to the global south, and this is charities, this is clothing banks, the sheer volume is too much and the quality is so poor. So it's all going to the global south, and you might see your clothes in the pile. Probably saw my clothes on the pile. Now I don't actually give anything to a clothing banter charity right now. I wouldn't put my oil burden on them, to be honest. But the other one for them is Russian oil. So if that doesn't scare you enough with the whole kind of like waste colonization and the absolute sheer mess of this stuff that's everywhere, it's the fact that you might have just bought yourself something recently, not maybe looked at labels, and then if you go and look at labels and it says polyester, nylon, acrylic, or whatever, it could actually be made with Russian oil. So funding a war. Watch that film, Russian oil. There's also one it's called Dangerous Clothing. It's about chemicals in clothing. This was News4JAX that did this, and it's really just talking about, again, from an oil perspective, when you make clothing from oil, there's like sometimes up to 8,000 chemicals used in the production of it. And when you think about it, we talk about, digesting plastics and consuming plastics, water in a bottle that's been sitting in the sunlight or in your car, or not to drink it, what have you. But actually we're putting ourselves in very warm situations, our pores are opening, and our skin is our largest organ. And it's just talking about actually how scary the impact is to our health about wearing clothes made from oil when it's next to our biggest organ, which is our skin. So that's the dangerous clothing, chemicals, little clip. I mean, some of these are just a couple of minutes long. And we also have in there two from this chap called Sadhguru. Really interesting. One is about, its title something about parents should hear this, but it's really just talking about, again, the plastics, that we probably all have enough plastic in us to form a credit card in our heart. Who owns us? And talking about sustainability, and I think this is really interesting because I don't think many people know what sustainability means. Is it a sustainable business, your sustainability policy, blah blah blah? Actually, and he kind of sums it up really nicely in that it's not about trying to be sustainable. It's actually just being conscious, just really thinking about what you're doing, why you're doing it, what's the impact for you, for the others. It's a product, where's it come from? You know, it's just be awake, just be conscious, just take a few minutes to really think about the full impact of that and forget sustainable. Because like with greenwashing and everything right now, nobody knows what it means. It's just a cool word, it's a buzzword. It's about being conscious and transparent, absolutely. But yeah, that parents should watch this, and the point that he's picking about under 16-year-olds not wearing any clothing made of oil, school uniforms and what have you. And yeah, there's a few people that have covered that in terms of young children and young adults wearing plastic clothing. Not good. But hopefully our research will help validate that, and I want to take that further. This is me then taking it to Scottish Government. You've held this event for the National Circular Clothing Strategy. You've had an event for Fashion Revolution for a Minister for Textiles. Oh, and by the way, do you know that if you let all of this clothes come into our country, sold at vastly reduced prices because of the exploitation of the planet and for people in terms of modern slavery, you're allowing this to come in and you're killing people. No health warnings. Is that enough to shock them into doing something from a legislative perspective? I hope so. But the other one by Sadhguru is about what sells, and this one really resonated with me. And this is about women. There's some really interesting points in this one actually, and it reminded me of that time when I was in New York a couple of years ago. I'm trying to think, it might have been pre-COVID, I think now. And I remember speaking to this chap from Scotland, and he was asking about how's it going, blah blah blah. And I was like, so that 2019, I think, 2019, and talking about sustainability and how it's opened my eyes. And we were going through that B Corp assessment at the time, and he's like, Claire, because my views were quite strong. He's like, no, you just, in order for it to sell, you need to make sustainability sexy. Wow. It's a man telling me that I need to make sustainable sexy. Now that really ties into this film, what sells. And who tells us what to wear? And there's a bit of a play on men and women, and it's just really interesting how he says, actually we shouldn't be judged on, how we look or what sex we are. It's judged on our level of genius. And the other thing that I love that he mentioned was this statement here. He said, if I give less and take more, I am smart. If I give more and take less, I am stupid. That's what society signals to us all the time. And how wrong is that? And what he was saying is that, like the situation where somebody told me I had to make sustainability sexy, was that when you see the world, everything about the world is a marketplace, and you have to decide whether you're stupid or smart. Smart being the one that will give nothing and take everything. This is the smart, this is the marketplace. You realize that actually the more that people think about things as a marketplace, whether that's men or women, I'm not debating that, but the more that you see that I want to be smart, I need to give as little as possible to make as much as possible, it's just totally emphasizing our unconsciousness and totally emphasizing our unsustainable way of life. And actually, I think when you boil it down, it's our unsatisfying way of life. We're not truly fulfilled, I don't think, because you're always looking for more. You're always wanting to be smarter. You're always wanting, you're wanting that more. I want to give as little as possible. I want more and more. It becomes a drug. And seeing everything in marketplace. And then how society celebrates that. And I think that's a challenge. That's always been a challenge for us a little bit. And I think it's more challenging right now with the whole economic situation. I will not be shy in coming forward. And we've put in this email here a little bit about overproduction And I think there is a lot of people who think we must produce thousands and we'll have made thousands because we've done all of this XYZ. And going back to that point, we've always given more and taken less, genuinely, and we're really proud to do that. And as I say in the email, I've said, this is what we produced last year. Do the maths, work it out. I'm literally trying to run this so that we can make massive impact. It's not about the profits. It's not about trying to be that marketplace smart. And I don't think I'm stupid. No, I don't. I think it's just really hard that actually the more ethical you are, the more challenging it is. And I think it is tougher than ever right now with the whole economic situation, because people are, more pressured. What is the priority? And I will not lie and say sometimes I kind of sit there and go, well, do you know what? We could probably shut every clothing manufacturer in the world for 5 years and we would be absolutely fine. What do I do? So it's difficult because it's challenging times, and we're here trying to say, like, let's stop making all of this cheaper stuff that is making us really ill and is making the planet really ill. And the weird thing is when you do the maths, you actually, if you wanted to do a financial thing, and I hate doing it on the financial thing, but there always has to be this justification, because how can people position you, because we've become so conditioned to think that we really have premium luxury up here and there's aspirational and then everything else should be cheaper, and this no man's land in the middle is where we are. But it's the irony of it all is that when you're buying cheaper, you just want more. So you buy. And I think genuinely, if anyone did the maths, I think you realise that because you're on this I want more path and trajectory, you're spending so much on stuff that you just don't love and don't feel connected to. And really, if you did ask more about it and take time to look at it, you would probably feel quite guilty. I felt really guilty, and I know I'm always worried that I make people feel guilty, and I don't mean to. I'm just like, just want to share what I've learned. But yeah, it's funny how, like there was an article actually this week. It was like, really kind of saying that, in order to be a sustainable again, should be conscious consumer, sustainable person, then, not everyone can afford it, etc., etc. And I think it's just the fact that we want more. I think paying more for less is actually, there is no that financial burden or that debt or that need to keep up. It's just crazy. And I just, that whole justification over price and cost per wear, it's just, I just feel for everybody who's trying to make things in a very ethical way, and you're in a bit of a no man's land with pricing, and then you throw in the economic crisis, and then it's just like, oh dear, it's really, really tough. So anyway, that's the joys of it all, Claire. And the right path is never the easy path, but Fashion Revolution Scotland, fantastic event, amazing, guys, what you did. So many fantastic people in the room. They had a good bit on wool, actually, that they didn't get a chance to talk about, and unfortunately, but next time, this week, back at Scottish Government again, she says, rocking up herself. But Fashion Revolution, brilliant event, Minister for Textiles, but also these films. I hope you enjoy watching these films and be kind of inspired to look at it more, because there is something in it, common sense. And I just wearing so much plastic is just, it's not good for us. And I just wish there was health warnings, and I just wish governments would do more. We have it on our foods, we have it on so many other products in our life or situations. Here's the health and safety, here's the warnings, but actually the biggest organ in our bodies being subject to this chemicals and oil all the time. And I don't think for a second that if everybody walked into a shop and was looking to get one of their whatever they needed for that day, if it had the big label and said I'm made with 100% oil, people would really think twice. So that simple change of labelling would be great. And anything that's made of natural fibres, you won't have these labels. But anyway, I'm just banging on, which I quite like these little films because I just get to blather for ages. But yeah, enjoy the links, and anyone wants to ask anything about any of these things, any more research, or if you've come across anything, please share it with me. But also feel free to ping this email on to anyone you know, because I think the more we start kind of sharing this, I'm not trying to persuade or plant false seeds. These are other people doing this research and sharing stuff that I wish I knew years ago. And I just think, you know, there's no smoke without fire. So yeah, just have a look, and yeah, any questions, just let me know. So till the next Film It session, I'll catch you later.